ever since explosive weapons were developed more than 150 years ago, virtually with the invention of dynamite, the explosives that were produced and used on battlefields remained afterwards. And in most cases, they remained and were simply the problem of the local community to deal with. And if we look at the conflicts in the last 40 or 50 years, these local communities are mainly in the poorest countries on earth. And so over more than 100 years, and now over recent decades where more and more explosive force could be used and delivered in huge quantities over long distances in armed conflicts, we had a situation where basically the problem was left to the local community to deal with as best they could. When the military left, it was somebody else's problem. It wasn't the international community's problem. It was just the poorest communities on earth, usually, to deal with. And they did it, of course, but at great cost to lives and limbs and livelihoods.
In 2003, the international community adopted, by consensus, Protocol V on Explosive Remnants of War of the Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons. As a states party to this convention, the Republic of Hungary decided to host a workshop focusing on explosive ordnance disposal. More than 15 countries sent experts to Budapest to take part in this exercise. The Hungarian Defense Forces' first Honvéd Explosive Ordnance Disposal and Warship Battalion hosted this event. But where did this cooperation begin? What is the convention and Protocol V about? To understand this cooperative effort among diplomats, military experts, and thousands of professionals around the globe, we will visit the disarmament capital of the world, Geneva. The United Nations office in Geneva has for long decades served the disarmament process. The spirit of Geneva, the common will to reach consensus, is the key in this endeavor. Hundreds of diplomats and military experts from UN member states meet here regularly to negotiate and implement various disarmament and non-proliferation treaties. From the smallest informal consultations to large-scale public lectures, thousands of meetings are hosted by the United Nations office in Geneva every year. But regardless of the actual topics of these disarmament conferences, the participants know that while flowers are measuring the time in peaceful Geneva, time becomes a question of life or death for the victims on the battlefield or in hospitals. And now, let's have a look behind the scenes to reveal the hidden details.
First of all, what does it mean, explosive remnants of war? These are conventional munitions with explosive, which fall under one of the two categories. On the one hand, these are unexploded ordnance. That means conventional weapons which have been prepared for use, they have been used, but they have failed. They have not exploded for one reason or another. On the other hand, the dynamics during conflict are such that a party or parties to a conflict may be forced to abandon their stocks of munitions. So these two categories, the abandoned munitions and the unexploded ordnance together, will remain on the battlefield. What is common is that they are dangerous. They are extremely dangerous and ready to kill.
In 2000, after the Kosovo conflict, we were able to document a year's worth of effects on civilians of explosive remnants of war. In this case, 2/3 of the dead and injured from explosions after the conflict were from explosive remnants of war, including about half cluster munitions, and another third were caused by anti-personnel landmines. At that time, the ICRC in September 2000 called for the regulation in international law of all explosive remnants of war, and also for new international rules that would govern the use of cluster munitions to reduce their effects on civilian populations. So this was really the entry point of the ICRC to the whole question of explosive remnants of war. It was a matter of looking at decades of this pattern of long-term suffering caused by the weapons used, even after they had no military purpose.
To develop a new legal norm, states need a forum. This may be a permanent negotiating forum like the Conference on Disarmament or an ad hoc process. In the case of the Explosive Remnants of War, the states decided to make use of an existing legal framework, which is the Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons, or CCW. Why? Simply because of the unique structure of this convention. It consists of a framework or umbrella convention and protocols annexed to the convention. Each of these protocols regulates or prohibits the use of a specific weapon like landmines or incendiary weapons or blinding laser weapons. So under the pressure of the crisis associated with the Explosive Remnants of War and the initiative of the International Committee of the Red Cross, as well as several countries, the states parties to this convention decided to establish a special structure within the process, a group of experts, to address the problem of explosive remnants of war. This group, which was established in 2001, for 2 years studied the different aspects of the problem, negotiated a new protocol, and this legal instrument was successfully adopted in 2003. Protocol V on explosive remnants of war to the Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons entered into force in 2006.
So what Protocol V does is say you can't any longer just walk away from the problem when your military operations have created explosive remnants of war on your territory or the territory of another country.
After the introductory presentation, the Hungarian EOD experts demonstrated the devices they use in their daily work. The huge range of these devices clearly shows that field work requires broad training to successfully operate the specific tools, such as the heavy EOD robot. This job demands extra protection for the EOD experts, but no one in this business can forget the basic rules. Protective suits alone are not enough to save your life. Various methods of transportation are needed to get the job done and safely transport explosive remnants of war, even on public roads. Specially trained dogs help the EOD experts. Their training requires great attention and patience, but successful exercises reward trainers and dogs as well. In Hungary, many ERWs can be found in the Danube River. Removing them means an enormous challenge in a river where the underwater visibility is often less than 10 centimeters. Specialized vessels were created and customized to support this task. Even if a country is without a coastline, the ERWs in rivers and lakes may necessitate this capability as well.